President Bush, addressing Congress, said, many Americans are asking, why do they hate us? And he responds, they hate what they see right here, what we see right here in this chamber. They hate our freedom of thought, our freedom of expression. And so we wanted to test this theory with empirical evidence. We asked this open-ended question: what do you admire most about the West? And this is, of course, a generalization of findings across our data, but the most frequent response was technology, that there was an admiration of Western technology. And the second most frequent was an admiration of liberty and democracy. We asked the American public the same question: what do you admire most about the West? And we did clarify, we did mean Western civilization and not California. But this is what we heard from the American people. Number one, liberty and democracy. Number two, technology. The same two responses. And this is really quite remarkable because, like I said, this is an open-ended question. There weren't prerequisite multiple choice options. People could say absolutely anything in the world, and yet there was this level of commonality. To give you a flavor of what people said in their own words, a Saudi respondent said that what was admired most about the West was freedom of the press, opinion, and expression, also scientific advancement. In Iran, it was social justice and having access to nuclear power. Real democracy. In Pakistan, it was laws above all, and everyone observes the law. Another said their political system is transparent and they are following democracy in its true sense. And in Morocco, it was liberty and freedom and being open-minded with each other. Now, what's really important to take away from some of these statements is that whatever one calls a system of governance, there is a commonality across the world of the basic building blocks of what makes a good government. It has to do with transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. We also found that there is a tremendous amount of support, at least in theory, in Muslim-majority countries for this idea of freedom of speech. So the question we asked was about a theoretical constitution. And what guarantees would people favor to put in this theoretical constitution for a new country? And this is the level of support that freedom of speech gets from people around the world. And we actually define freedom of speech as the ability to say whatever one wants about the social, political, and economic realities of the day. You can see 94% of Egyptians would favor this, 92% of Iranians. I also have the American public as a comparison point at 97%, statistically identical to Egypt. When we asked people their dreams for the future, they talked not about war, but about work, getting a good job, as well as securing a quality education for their children. Muslim women are a special topic, and if we do a survey of American or Western media in general's portrayal of Muslim women, we find that very often they are shown as submissive or passive victims. So, for example, in a survey of photographs of Muslims in the American press, 3/4 of the women were depicted in passive capacities, compared with less than 1/6 of men. Now, how does this compare to what women themselves are saying? We find that across the world, women are saying that very different from their image of passive or disempowered citizens, that they believe that they should be able to work at any career that they are qualified, that they should have a strong role in society. We compare here the percentage of men and women who support the proposition that a woman should be able to work at any job that she is qualified. And across the world, it's majorities, although there are important differences between men and women, especially in Iran and in Egypt. But majorities of both men and women, even if in some countries there is a gap. Where there is virtually no gap is in Lebanon and Malaysia, as well as Sudan. And actually, even in Saudi Arabia, the gap is very small. All of this should not be interpreted as a desire to have wholesale adoption of Western culture. That's not the case either. We find that the most frequent association with Muslim societies is attachment to their spiritual and moral values is critical to their progress, while the least often associated statement is adopting Western values will help their progress. So while Muslims around the world admire much about the West, they see their own progress as being through their own cultural and religious context. And yet, this should not be seen as a desire to isolate. Far from it. People are more likely to believe that greater interaction between Muslims and the West is more a benefit than a threat. And this includes the American public, where actually are the most enthusiastic about having greater interaction between the Muslim and Western worlds. A full 70% see it as a benefit, while only 27% see it as